The aim of this action research is to identify how I can use dialogic pedagogies to increase student engagement and achievement levels in mathematics. My first professional experience took place in a school located in the southwest of Sydney. The school is a high demand school in the area with enrichment classes from grades 1 to 6 and an opportunity class for the gifted and talented. The school implements future focused pedagogies that promote a learner centered approach. These 21st century pedagogies build on student knowledge, understanding, skills, and values to enable them to be more resilient and thrive in rapidly evolving societies of the future. Additionally, the school has adopted the positive behavior for learning model that reinforces the Big E engagement from the Me framework. This creates an intrinsic realization within the students that school works for me while providing a sense of belonging. Munz and Martin, 2005. The classroom that I will be conducting and hypothetically implementing my action research will be for the class I was placed in for my first professional practice. All students bring their own devices to school, and most of this work is accessed and uploaded through the Google Classroom platform. My mentor teacher was an experienced teacher who had over 10 years of experience, and classroom routines were well established and behavior management issues were minimal. The students have access to flexible seating, which forms the perfect backdrop for promoting dialogue and collaboration. Students were academically, socially, and culturally diverse. Students also ranged from being engaged, motivated, and excited to learn to students who were distracted, disinterested, and reluctant to engage. In mathematics, students were placed in ability groups, and students were generally used to a more traditional way of learning, where concepts were modeled and explained, and students were then asked to work independently or in small groups to solve problems. Most math tasks were based on fluency, understanding, and problem solving, and little on communicating and reasoning. While I observed high engagement in key learning areas such as the creative arts, science, and English, during math sessions, students displayed behavior of disengagement. Some students would not interact during class discussions and avoided answering questions. In reference to the Me framework by Munz and Martin, 2005, students were not involved with learning experiences that emphasized high behavior, high emotion, and high cognition. In reflecting upon my teaching, I note that despite the high value I associated with math talk, my lessons comprised exchanges that had a high degree of teacher control and followed the initiation response feedback pattern described by Sinclair and Coulthard in 1975. The majority of my questions were characteristically closed, following the archetypal question and answer structure, as opposed to turn taking that facilitates conversations and student discussions, described by Attard et al. 2018. Attard et al. 2018 posit that this elevated level of teacher control has negative consequences on the process of producing engaging messages within the context of knowledge, place, and voice. Because of the markers of disengagement, especially around class discussions and my own professional development, I have decided to focus my action research on how I can use dialogic pedagogies to increase student achievement and engagement in mathematics. Reflecting on my teaching practice and my classroom observations and conducting a literature review, my hypothesis for my action research is that students thrive when they are at the center of their own learning. Student-centered learning encourages autonomy and active learning while simultaneously improving student attitudes and engagement. Lee and Hannafin, 2016. Student-centered learning is also critical in preparing students for the 21st century world. Amongst the 21st century pedagogies, one of the most effective at facilitating student centered learning are dialogic pedagogies. Dialogic pedagogies are defined as repertoires of classroom talk and interaction that encourage student participation and ultimately student small e engagement. Specifically, dialogic pedagogies are those that comprise questions that leads to critical thought, responses that are investigative, and seek out justification and reasoning, and the consideration of different points of view. The efficacy of these pedagogies is underscored by the ability of the teacher to maximize opportunities for the students to engage in substantive and productive talk. Significantly, dialogic pedagogies leverage off and build skills such as active listening, empathizing with others, constructive criticism, and critical thought while continuing to collectively construct knowledge through a process of debate, problem solving, and reconciliation. Littleton and Mercer, 2013, have classified student interactions into three types of talk: disputational, cumulative, and exploratory. Of these, exploratory talk is dialogue characterized by analysis, critical thought, constructive criticism, and exchange of ideas. Exploratory talk, when effective, results in students into thinking. Littleton and Mercer, 2013. Exploratory talk is the type of talk I will encourage in my classroom so students enunciate their critical thought process and build on each other's ideas to arrive at learning outcomes. Both teachers and students can encounter barriers when engaging in an exploratory talk in the classroom. Teachers have to continually seek to balance the tension between achieving curriculum outcomes within the time constraints against the need to provide students with the freedom to express their points of view and develop their ideas. Students may find it difficult to challenge an idea and provide a counterpoint without devolving into debate or conflict. My role is therefore to act as the guide to enable students to engage in dialogic process. A critical aspect of overcoming these challenges is the establishment of ground rules to ensure that talk is not disputational, is often cumulative, and mostly exploratory. In establishing ground rules, inclusion of students in curriculum goals, and the creation of an open, dialogic-rich classroom, students will begin to feel a sense of being insiders in the classroom and feel a sense of belonging. Munz and Martin, 2005. Moreover, dialogic teaching in my mathematics classroom, students will learn to work mathematically. Dialogicality will improve their mathematical language and communication, their problem-solving skills, their critical thought and reasoning, which in turn will improve their understanding and fluency. 3 learning experiences have been planned that will be part of an integrated unit of work. However, in this presentation, only a snippet of this unit is presented. The focus of the 3 learning experiences is to give students the opportunity to apply measurement and money concepts within a real-life scenario. Students will design, budget for, build, and sell their own home. The 5E model by Beebe 1997 has been used to plan the 3 learning experiences. Classroom talk will be embedded in every phase of each learning experience. Highlighted in the last column of each table are suggested questions that will form the starting point to promote dialogicality in the classroom. However, it is important to note that these questions are only guides and not definitive, as the discussion necessarily must be organic and is intrinsically driven. Talk moves will be used when students are engaged in math talk. This framework, shown in this slide, will support rich, meaningful discussion and promote engaging messages of knowledge, ability, control, place, and voice, which are described by Munz and Martin, 2005. I will assess the success of my methods by collecting and analyzing student data, using both the ME framework and the mathematics syllabus to assess student engagement and achievement. This data collection and analysis will also generate evidence for methodology and teaching practices and will provide the basis for corrections and adjustments. The 3 data sources I will use to help me determine the success of my method will be collecting and analyzing student work samples, student self-assessments, and recording and analyzing student conversations. Munz and Woodward, 2006, note that data triangulation will capitalize on the strengths of using multiple data sources and reduce the weaknesses that come from using a single data source. While conducting my action research, I will adhere to the Code of Ethics outlined by Bartlett and Burton, 2009. Students will have several opportunities throughout the 3 learning experiences to produce work samples, which will be collected, annotated, and analysed. I will collect student work samples at different points during each learning experience. These have been highlighted in the previous slides in my planned learning experiences. Work samples will be turned in by students using the Google Classroom platform. I will annotate work samples and student engagement levels will be identified and coded. Markers of engagement will be used to identify how the learning experience emphasized active participation, genuine valuing, and reflective involvement in deep understanding and expertise. The mathematics syllabus will be used to assess student achievement, and work samples will be annotated with codes from the National Numeracy Learning Progression to determine where students fall along this continuum of learning. The affordances of using work samples as a data source include the ease of collection, assessment that can either be formative or summative. Student self-assessments will be collected at the end of the first learning experience in the form of annotated photographs and the third learning experience in the form of thinking logs. For both self-assessments, students will be given the opportunity to reflect on their own learning, including what they discovered, their role in the group activity, and how they felt about the learning experience. Both self-assessments will be turned in using Google Classroom platform. I will annotate these 2 student self-assessment and student engagement and achievement levels will be identified and coded. Student self-assessment makes thinking visible, provides the teacher valuable feedback on student engagement, and places students at the center of their learning. Conversational data will be collected during whole class discussions and group work. My mentor teacher will collect data during whole class discussions in the form of written notes or recorded audio. I will collect data during group discussions and will choose a focus group each lesson. Data will also be collected in the form of notes. I will analyze conversational data by answering a series of questions listed in this table. Answers will be annotated with engagement codes and National Numeracy Learning Progression codes. Conversational data provides a ready means to assess student and provides instant feedback and can show evolving skills and competencies. Fredericks et al. 2004 contend that engagement should be thought of as a multidimensional construct. Munns and Woodward 2006 extend on this and emphasize that for students to be truly engaged, all 3 components of engagement must be present: cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. It is therefore especially important when bringing these results and analysis from all 3 data types to assess that all 3 components have been met by students for me to conclude student engagement levels increased. In summary, this action research is as much about me as the teacher as about improving student engagement and achievement. This action research will give me an opportunity to critically assess my strengths and weaknesses and continually improve my professional practice. By introducing dialogic pedagogies into my teaching practice and enabling my students to achieve exploratory talk, I will be able to use this 21st century pedagogy to increase levels of motivation, the small e engagement in the lesson, and the sense of school works for me, big E engagement. For this active research to succeed, a key facet is seeking to build the important life skills of active listening, empathy, mutual respect, critical thought, respectful yet constructive criticism, and the ability to interthink and use dialogue to build knowledge. Building these skills takes time and effort, and it is only through sustaining this and bringing about transformative change in the individual students and the classroom as a whole that these dialogic pedagogies will yield outcomes in terms of engagement and achievement. Finally, this action research aligns perfectly with the AITSL professional standards for teachers and will drive my competence and professional practice as a teacher and in turn maximize impact on all students.